welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Your podcast works perfectly. Yes, I'm here. I'm a peon of podcasting, and we're ready to click
Don't explain
some
the
pictures.
joke.
I was not explaining the joke. I was just making an additional reference so that those who thought they got it were sure they got it. Now we've explained the joke. Okay.
Not quite.
Your Warcraft 2 works perfectly. Happy now? All right, so we're going to play some click picture. I'm going to explain it because why not? This is a game where we grab a random stock photo from a list of weird stock photos and we paste them into our Discord so we alone can see them, but then we describe them to you, the listening audience. And from that, we will come up with a game design. And then we'll go on to some other stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
3, 2, 1, tender.
Yeah. Oh, we have like a little comic strip thing. So we have a very buff man. I need to open it.
I don't know whether I like this.
Well, I don't know. We'll see where we go. A very buff man, down on one knee to a woman in a wheelchair offering what looks like a diamond ring, so presumably proposing marriage.
Mm-hmm.
He then very casually, and they're by a pool. He then very casually in the next photo is behind her, pushing the wheelchair right onto the edge of the pool with her kind of looking questioningly back behind her. Oh, so he's just in his underwear and like socks and white, like all white. Like I guess he's kind of like a pool boy or a tennis coach or something. I don't know. And she's all in black, long black dress.
She's a mature lady.
Oh, yeah. 40s. He's a bit younger, in his 20s or something.
Yep.
It's very much evoking the kind of like soap opera-y cougar relationship.
Yeah.
But anyway,
then in the last photo.
In the last one, she's face down in the pool just to finally get to it. And he's like smiling at her. Look, I think we could lean into the soap opera-y sort of feel.
Yeah, I think you got to.
Yeah, like it's got to be a bit over the top. There's obviously some weird relationship thing going here. He's presumably like, I mean, you don't just propose and do this. Maybe he's really stupid, but I was going to say he's like marrying her for her money.
Yeah, and doesn't realise that just because she said yes,
that you
doesn't mean that
knock her off and
he's immediately in the will and is her spouse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but don't you see my muscles? She loves them. She wants to marry them. Give me all the money. So I'm sort of thinking like a cast of characters, almost like a Knives Out feel to it in a way, where you've sort of got this murder.
You play the Sherlock Holmesian sort of character who comes in and solves it within like 2 seconds.
Well, I mean, if we're actually going with the murder depicted in these pictures, then yeah, it's pretty obvious. But maybe we'll just take it as inspiration for a soap opera-ish, over the top murder mystery. I'm kind of liking this idea. I'm picturing like a weird retro 2D style sort of thing where you're just hearing the testimony, like you're hearing the story from the different people. Because I'm sort of getting this idea of like picking them out of a lineup and saying, all right, you, next I want to hear your story. And then you kind of get their side of it. And I don't know if it plays out or you get like a little animation.
I think it's nicer if it plays out, as in whether it actually plays out so you can play something in it, or you can sort of maybe you see the scene come up and then you can sort of click around the scene and it describes their.
Ooh, actually, what could be interesting? Okay, here's my pitch. It's sort of the retro pixel art style. As you hear their testimony, you see like a very pixel stylized animation play out of what they're saying happened with sort of no text. It's just like little icons of them. If they say they talked about another person, then it's just a talk bubble with like sort of Sims-ish, right? Like a talk bubble with that person's face come up and then But then as you go, and they're relatively short, like maybe 30 seconds, but it goes over all the things. But as you hear different people's testimony, you can interrupt that by clicking somewhere, and then it's almost like a Papers, Please-ish thing where it's like, or like a Phoenix Wright, I guess, where you're saying, okay, wait, no, this one, but all you've got to select from is someone else's face that you've heard the testimony of, right? You're basically saying, like, click at this point on a particular thing on the screen and then click on someone else, and you're basically saying, no, this person's testimony, like, refutes that in some way. So you're sort of having to call out these discrepancies by remembering who said what and what they said happened.
So are these things automatically put into a journal for you? So you can go back through the journal at any time and sort of say, this person said this, and you don't use that to actually do the connections. But you can refer back to it at any point.
I think maybe you can refer back.
Yeah, because my big problem about a lot of adventure games back in the past is if you saved the game, and then came back to it 6 months later, you forgot.
Well, I think maybe, so here's what I'm sort of thinking is happening is it's almost like you're trying to unravel all of these testimonies to make them all line up and not have any discrepancies. And so at any point you can say, okay, I want to hear yours again. And you can just hear
But they get snarky.
And you can just watch it. Like maybe you'll get a little bit of text. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can just watch theirs all the way through again. And I think as you find a discrepancy, then they change their story. And then that's what they tell you every time. But then that change might introduce a discrepancy with person number 5's story or whatever at a different point. So, and I think the goal is that you're basically discovering all these discrepancies until all of their testimony lines up. And at that point, you should have all the information you need to know exactly what happened and who did it.
Yeah, I think what you got to try and stay away from, though, is one of the problems that the Phoenix Wright had, especially in the later chapters in each game, was that the contradiction was such a tiny little thing that didn't really make sense that you ended up, getting to the point where you tried everything against everything just to try and find that one little contradiction.
I think you definitely have to limit that to a certain degree so that, I think there are pretty obvious things that you can click on. But, there might be multiple things in each scene or in each little section that you can say, no, this or this or this or whatever. I don't know that you'd go to the level of having to say specifically what it is in the other scene that, because that's getting a bit too much. So I guess you could brute force your way through it and just click on everything and click on every face and then you'd get through it. But I think you'd make it so the permutations of that were so much that it would take so long it wouldn't be worth it. Yeah. But you're right. I think you definitely have to make sure they were things that would change, that would necessitate a change in the story, right? It's not just some little thing like, oh, but it was a blue handkerchief and you said it was a white handkerchief or whatever, unless that was actually important to the story.
Yep. And in this case, it looks like it's just a blue wheelchair.
The wheelchair was blue. Yeah. I don't know.
He was wearing white underwear and had a nipple ring. Which
he had 3 nipples. All right. I think let's move over to some ramped up click pitch.
So ramped up click pitch is a game where we each have a random phrase generator, an adjective and a noun. And on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we're going to click refresh. We're going to take those 2 words. We're going to throw them at each other. We're going to come up with a game design just like we did with click picture. And then when it doesn't, we can't think of anything else, we'll throw it away and be done with it.
Yeah, and get another one.
Okay, we'll see what sort of stupid mood I'm in tonight because I've been watching some comedies.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens.
Nice.
3, 2, 1, click. Computerized luck.
Dingy forefront. So, dingy forefront made me think of for some reason it made me think of a rundown kind of dock, like a beach town or something. I guess forefront kind of makes me think of like I don't know, on the ocean. I may be thinking of like beachfront or whatever, but whatever.
Yeah.
Forefront.
Foreshore.
Foreshore. I was probably thinking of foreshore beachfront. Anyway, that's fine. That's my inspiration.
Computerized luck, I was thinking almost like an old Tats Lotto sort of news agent.
Yeah, well, what this very much gave me the vibe of was the what was it? Is it the Zoltar machine in Big?
Yep.
Do you remember they find it on like the old pier at the end?
Yep.
That's what it gave me the vibe of, like some old, whether it's like a Coney Island style carnival place or just some old pier that's got some old arcadey games or whatever, but it's some sort of like try your luck machine. And then maybe it has, we revolve a game around that somehow.
Okay, I'm seeing adventure game. It's one of these old sort of claw machines that when you try your luck, you get out, a prize, but these prizes are somewhat prophetic in their
Ooh, yep.
In whichever prize you pick up, something regarding this particular prize is gonna happen. So
I'm getting kind of a Stephen King-ish vibe as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of almost getting a Jumanji-esque vibe as well. Like, you pick up a like an alien, and that night aliens visit.
Oh, okay.
Sort of thing.
Okay, so it's not just prophetic in that, like, you use the claw machine. It's like, okay, up a bit. All right, now right. Okay, down. And, like, it's a broken leg, and then you break your leg. Like, I don't know how you'd pull a broken leg out of the thing, but it's not just something that might happen anyway. Yeah, you're saying more of that Jumanji-ish thing where it's like, oh, no, this is definitely making this stuff happen. Like, we're dealing with something here that is causing changes in our lives. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. Just as a little aside, you do see like the rundown Zoltar machine.
Oh yeah,
but they say, oh, that thing looks like it's been out of action for years or something like that.
Yeah, for approximately 37 years. Or
Not that I can remember what our game, The Little and the Big, was
God,
about
we did one, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, back in like episode 4.
How close was I? 98. No, I was a bit off. I thought it was a little bit earlier. 88, I mean.
88, yeah. But I think you can make reference to the Zoltar machine saying that thing looks like something out of the 80s or
definitely
something like that.
Whereas I'm going to play this new and shiny claw machine that has bright lights and gives me prizes. I like that. I'm picturing this as a group of kids, like tweens or something. Get a bit of a Goonies or Stranger Things sort of vibe happening.
I wonder if this is one of those claw machines that, how there's some that everyone wins a prize, and so you got the big prizes that you can win, and then you got like the lollies that you can also win.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that the lollies are like fantails that when you open them up, they've got like a little sort of
like a riddle or
a riddle or a line on there, and they're the smaller sort of like prophecy things.
Yeah, that
happen
don't have
to come through.
Yeah, okay. I like that idea because I love this idea that they're at this shitty carnival. They're like 12 or 13, so they're getting too cool for like the rides and stuff, until they get to like 22, and then they're going to love them again because they're over that teenage bullshit. But no, they're getting to the point where they're like, oh my God, like, why are we here? And like, well, we might as well try
that time that when you were a teenager that you thought that you knew everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize that, fuck no, I didn't.
No, you knew
and
nothing.
Rides are actually really cool, and why didn't I realize that?
Yeah, and you wasted all that time being a fucking angsty douchebag.
All this time that you could have been riding on a
roller coaster.
On a roller coaster.
Like, come on. They're fun. But yeah, they're just like, oh, well, we might as well, I don't know. Or one of them decides, hey, like, I remember these, the one who's maybe a little bit younger or is just maybe a little bit, less mature, and so is still has the fun kid side of things.
Is this set in like say, the 2030s or the 2040s, when these sort of machines went out of date in, like, you know, the late 2010s or whatever.
Yeah.
They went out of fashion.
Yeah, we could
and
do
so
that.
it's just what's sort of remaining.
So this is like our kids
sideshow
when they hit our kids when they hit teenage years.
Yeah, so I'm picturing that each of these kids have got, like, these fancy, you know, holographic screens on their phones and all this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, they got cool accessories on their gas masks that they need because the air's not breathable. You know, their little sun protection umbrella hats that have come back into fashion because everybody needs them to protect themselves from the vicious burning sun. That are the coolest brands. But yeah, I think one of them, like, gives it a go and they lose, but they get a couple of these little lollies and they're like, it's got, like, little jokes inside. The first one's just a shitty, you know, dad joke or whatever.
I mean, the real problem is the fact that you can tell this machine hasn't actually been opened since, like, the 2010s.
Oh yeah, there's a whole thing in there about, oh my God, are you going to eat that? Like, that's been in there for decades. But then the next one they open and it, like, has this weird prophetic kind of saying on it. Which then, of course,
I'm sort of seeing that it's like really, really specific to this particular person.
Yeah. It's like weirdly specific to the person or the group, or at least someone in the group.
Yeah.
And they all kind of get weirded out and like,
they all laugh it off.
They laugh it off, but you can tell that they're freaked out.
You know, they take 2-3 steps and, you know, it said something about, you know, be careful of, you know, the boards on the pier or something like that. And they put their foot right through one of the boards on the pier.
Yeah. It's like, if 3 steps on the pier you step, your leg shall crack and do a flip.
Do a flip.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't think of that was a bad rhyme. Has there nothing that rhymes with it? Flat with step. Yeah, there's not actually that many things. But anyway, it's a slang rhyme. And yeah, they like slip and bust their ankle or something, and basically it doesn't prove it to be true, but it really freaks them out.
Yeah, and they start to think, oh, what could this other lolly actually, you know, mean? And it was
they look at the previous one then that didn't strike them as weird. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like what's black and white and red all over a newspaper. And they're like, newspapers been dead for decades. Doesn't everyone know millennials killed the newspaper?
Millennials killed the newspaper
man. They just started murdering. There was the great newspaper boy call of 2023. Those damn millennials.
What's a newspaper?
But then, like, I don't know, a newspaper blows past and hits him in the face. It's from 15 years ago. I kind of like the idea of, you know, it talks about reading, you know, the third column in the classifieds. Oh, okay. It references something. Yeah.
Yeah. So you go home and you look in your attic and there's this old newspaper and you look in there in the classified ad and you find something about, I know your parents, that you can actually tell that's where they sort of were searching for each other, sort of thing.
Oh, like a misconnection.
A misconnection, but, you know, obviously it worked out because you're here.
Oh, and there's something around the claw machine. Like maybe they like met an arcade or something.
Yeah. And I don't know, you could have something fun with going back in time with that sort of stuff. And the idea that this kid finds out, oh, hang on, you know, maybe there's some more prophetic things that happen there, but they get really, really dark really, really quickly.
Oh, yeah. I think it starts like whatever, alien invasions and
oh, yeah,
demonic possessions. But in the meantime, they find out, you know, what the true meaning of friendship and that their parents are real people. And, you know, even though they're divorced now, they had a love that was real and the usual shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And unless, of course, this whole misconnection thing, happens to be that
it turns
that's
out
what gets them together again. Like they...
Oh, it rekindles their... Or it turns out like they assume it was their parents, but it was actually like this kid's dad and another kid's mum. And they reconnect after decades, and there's a real true misconnection. Oh, because that it's actually a like a nickname that the dad calls the mum or something like this. Yeah, or something. There's some connection there.
I'm looking for my Snooky Bear sort of thing.
Right.
And it's like it's what he always says, but it turns out that this is a recycled nickname.
Yeah. But then you have this whole romantic
totally
scene,
fucking up your parents' relationship and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, okay. They're not already divorced.
They are now.
But then you have this whole romantic scene with these two, previous lovers from who never found each other again, finding themselves in front of the claw machine that they, once, it all comes back and all comes round. And then one of the kids uses the claw machine again, and everyone's like, no! And they get a fucking creature out, and it comes to life and kills them all. It's like,
it's a Chucky doll.
You got the chupacabra.
You got the chupacabra.
I didn't even know that was in there.
No, I think that just snuck in there. Like, you can see a big hole in the back. Oh, yeah.
No, that's just a fucking drop bear that climbed into the back.
Next to the hoop snake.
Yeah. All right, 3, 2,
3, 2, or 3.
Ooh, these kind of go together. Ripened cognac.
Flushed sighting.
Oh, well, flushed is interesting because you might get flushed from drinking. Cognac's a type of wine, right? Or is it a champ? It's it's a brandy. Okay, brandy. It's fine.
See, cognac, I'm straight away thinking like men's club sort of thing. Men's club with cigars and...
Oh, like the old-fashioned...
Yeah, old-fashioned men's club.
Okay. Can we lampoon it in some way because it's like a totally sexist patriarchal thing?
Okay, so this old abandoned men's club has been converted into like has been bought by these two women. They saw
they might still be into cigars and fucking like hunting and horse racing. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they bought it.
I just like the idea that they bought this place, it's been run down for years, and it's sort of like, as they go through like the bar and all that sort of stuff, they find this
old brandy,
this old like cognac and all these boxes of cigars, and they're sort of going through, searching through old documents and that sort of stuff, and they sort of come across this almost old mystery that is in a logbook or something like that.
Look, I think that can be part of it. I'm kind of liking the idea of almost not quite a Stardew Valley, but like
it's a match 3.
You could do that.
Sorry,
as match 3.
To do it.
No, I'm thinking more of like a what's that? There are a few games like this anyway, where you're kind of running a shop or putting out different stock and stuff, or like improving the place. In a Stardew Valley-ish way, but maybe, you've got this kind of sprawling property that you are... So instead of, like, farming the land, digging things up and like, finding things in the mines or whatever, you're just, like, cleaning up rooms and finding stuff that unlocks kind of story bits, and then the relationships come from people who start coming in and patronizing the place. Okay. And they're like, oh, like this is cool. A new, hangout club place. It's not a men's club anymore. It's just I don't even know what you'd call it, but
it's called the club.
The club. It's just the club. And yeah, you start getting these people come in, but yes, part of it is then as you go, you like find out stuff about the history of it and all the racist white men that used to run it and sorted but I think you find the tunnels that during Prohibition, they brought liquor in through, and then that becomes, a way to get around it. It really is this huge sprawling estate. And maybe there is some outdoor stuff and some growing or whatever, but it's not like farming. It's maybe growing in the orchard or, it's a bit different in that way.
I like this to be like a 3-story building and a basement. And it's sort of like, as you're going up through the levels, you're having to clear out all the debris and
exactly,
and so you only do the first level first, and I think the entryway, the main area, and the bathrooms. That's all you do at the very start, just to get it actually up and running.
And I think Stardew, you've got a certain amount of energy each day, right? And you've got to use certain tools to be able to get through certain things. And to get that, you have to either save money to buy them, or you have to craft them from other things. You've got things to do each day, and it'll take time to get through that. And as you do that, you have conversations with these people who come in. Initially, it might not be patrons and customers. It might be the real estate agent comes in to check on you, or the fucking person doing the permits or whatever comes in. But you start creating these relationships with these people, and I think maybe later on you can call them on the phone if you need to. If you need to progress a certain story thing. In Stardew Valley, they had this person's available here at this time of the day or whatever, but you could have it that, as long as you call them during work hours or whatever, you can get them to come over, or different things like that.
If you break down the boarded up tunnels, downstairs in the basement, maybe there's a supernatural element that starts coming in the fact that there's a reason why they boarded up these tunnels. For
sure. They definitely murdered people. Poor people.
So I kind of like the idea of sort of going in that direction that, you don't necessarily have to break down the tunnels and all this sort of stuff. But if you actually get down there, you can actually find, the ritual sacrifice room sort of thing and all these other sort of weird...
Look, I haven't got that far through Stardew Valley personally, but I think with that's just kind of how you start progressing the story. And maybe that's where even some of the combat-ish elements come in if you are going off that sort of Stardew Valley, or Graveyard Keep is another one that I've played a bit more of, where that's a way to also build up resources, is you go down into the catacombs, into the fucking tunnels, the boarded up tunnels, and you fight off ghosts and specters and other words for ghosts.
You're actually going down into the 7 levels of hell or whatever it is,
or something. You can have these multiple levels where it gets harder and harder, and it just gives you a reason to then be getting more money and keeping the club running, and getting new resources by making these relationships with people. I really think you could follow that Stardew Valley / Graveyard Keeper style, but it's a bit different because it is.
They really should have warned you: do not leave the tunnels unboarded, though, because it turns out that you can get down there, but other stuff can come up too.
I like that. I love that idea of you have your day. You've got a certain amount of energy or whatever. You've stocked up. You're okay, today I'm going to go down. I'm going to fucking bust some ghosts because I need ectoplasm for my new drink recipe. And then, but as you
the flaming modes have been really going well lately.
But you come back up and you forget to push the sarcophagus back in front of the door. And so when you wake up you forget to actually put the salt line back over the or whatever. There's some sort of protection that you need to do every day if you've broken it, if you've gone through there. And so the next morning you wake up, I don't think it's catastrophic, but you've got the next 3 days you're having to clear fucking ghosts out, or you start getting customers scared by poltergeists or whatever until you fucking bring your sage over and burn it and clear the area.
Shit really gets bad on the 3rd week after you've left it, because a zombie comes up, bites bites some of your patrons.
Yeah.
And then it affects everyone in the patronage.
I think if that happens, you've just got it's basically endgame.
You're now serving human body parts, and
you just completely switch it up to a completely new game model
because they're all your patrons now. Like if you don't do it, then they're going to start wanting to eat you or your waitresses.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, I actually quite like that. I feel like you could build a lot on top of that. There needs to be more remixes of that kind of gameplay style.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click.
Okay, let's see what we can do with this. Incurable stud.
Terrifying shooting.
Ooh. Okay. I'm getting a superhero origin vibe from this.
Yep.
A bit of Tony Stark with the shrapnel close to his heart, and from the incurable, some sort of flaw that happens during a shooting.
Yeah, and he gets PTSD sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So he's sort of got to deal with the constant replaying in his head of those days' events and how close he came to dying. And a flawed superhero, it always...
yeah. I mean,
rings good to me.
I mean, it's basically Batman at this point, but maybe this is an alternate reality Batman sort of thing where if something similar happened, but the hero went in a different direction than just going all dark and broody.
Oh yeah, I'm
becoming a billionaire.
The shooting happened to him; it didn't happen to his parents. His parents survived or whatever, and he got shot.
Oh, so you literally do okay.
He's the one that got shot but didn't die. Because
is this a world where Batman got, became paraplegic or something? He got shot, it hit his spine.
He became Oracle.
Yeah, well, that's it. And so Bruce Wayne is... But does he still become...
the world's greatest detective.
Oh, he still becomes the world's greatest detective, but he doesn't have... he needs different gadgets then, like stair lifts. No, I don't want to be flippant about that because, obviously, we don't want people with disabilities to hate us. No, I like this idea then though that someone who is paralyzed from the waist down, still becomes the world's greatest detective and uses
still solves crime, still becomes somewhat not necessarily a vigilante, but he becomes, the hero that Gotham needs, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I like this idea of Bruce Wayne more as a philanthropic activist, but still fighting crime at night. But doing it in a bit of a different way that's not so selfish. Sort of thing. I feel like Batman has a very selfish side to him where he does go out and fight crimes, but it's so much rooted around his own kind of, I don't know. I mean, I guess in that way it is his PTSD and his feelings around his parents' death. But yeah, in this case, he's got his parents to help him. And
yeah, I kind of see that he wouldn't become that loner that Batman sort of becomes. He actually has almost a positive spin on things happen for a reason. This has happened. There's nothing he can do about it. There's no point sulking about it. His life has been good. His parents have been around and all this sort of stuff. And I can sort of see this as him not necessarily becoming a vigilante, but becoming, using his brain and joining, maybe the police force or something like that, and actually wanting to give back to the community because he can solve these crimes and doesn't want any other person going through what he had to go through.
Well, I think because he knows all cops are bastards, he doesn't join the police force. No, I agree though. I think it's using his brains, using his money in much more useful ways. To help Gotham become a better place and fight these things in different ways.
It'd be really interesting to sort of see on the opposite side how the Joker and the Riddler and Dick Grayson and all these characters could still be in the story and have a different outcome because
absolutely
Batman wasn't involved in the initial
like creation
anymore.
of those.
And is this actually a better world because there was no Batman sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting course to take where, you're exploring, okay, do these villains like the Joker and others still come about? And without Batman violently stopping them, as he tends to do.
But instead passively stopping them through...
Or at least just... like doing it through different
solving
means.
The crime and using his... I'm picturing that he's still got like a bat cave sort of thing, but it's actually more of a... like he's built up this web of security cameras across the city.
Well, I very much like the idea of... I mean, the whole thing is, he's the world's greatest detective. So this is a more of a Sherlock Holmesy Batman.
Yeah.
But with a lot of tech, right? Like Sherlock Holmes generally doesn't use tech, even in the modern versions. So this is him still using his like fingerprint scanners and his, computer recreations and all this sort of stuff, except it's not then to go and just punch the bad guy in the face.
But to instead lead the police there and let the police do their job sort of thing.
Yeah, or bring them down in some way, like collapse their, the structure of their organization or whatever, right? Like by planting something or by changing something or tipping off the right people. It's much more cerebral. So
not to give it away. And I do like the idea of him almost taking up the mantle of Oracle or something like that to give like the Barbara Gordon thing a go where she got shot in the comics and became Oracle instead of Batgirl.
Well, what could be interesting is
calling back to that.
It definitely call back to that, but I'm pretty sure wasn't it didn't she get her injury in the course of some sort of like Batman storyline? Yeah.
So the Joker shot Batgirl and made her a paraplegic, which is why it kind of has those parallels.
Oh, okay. So she was back. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Okay. Well, then, I like the idea then that she's not paraplegic. She is the vigilante out there.
Yeah, but I like the idea that he didn't help her become this vigilante. No. She was always just going to become a vigilante.
Yes, I think he discovers her out there already. I love this. I like the idea that he never took on any bat symbology. I think that's right. Anyway, symbolism. But she still did. And so you get all this stuff of and this can be even a bait and switch for the audience of, the bat, all the criminals are talking about the bat, this new vigilante crime fighter that's out there, except Bruce Wayne doesn't know who the fuck it is either. Or you show it in media res,
where it's already partway through, and you hear the bat talking about Oracle, and then it shows Bruce Wayne sitting in the wheelchair, sort of helping the bat out.
Well, I kind of like the idea though of perhaps. I guess it depends on where you want to start the story.
Well, you can start it there, and then you can go back in time.
That's true. That's true.
It's the typical 3 weeks earlier or
because
whatever.
I do like the idea of seeing Bruce Wayne as this detective before you bring in that Batgirl is out there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's episode 2 or something. Because you could come into it later and show it in media res and everyone's like, oh my God, did he get his did he get fixed or whatever? I don't know. Anyway, there are a few ways you could do it. But no, I very much like that idea of flipping that around. And making it much more of a detective game then, maybe similar similar to the Sherlock Holmes-ish games in the way that you're gathering evidence and kind of making connections and solving crimes.
Yeah.
And then just obviously going through sort of
but it's crimes with supervillains.
Exactly.
We don't see that often.
No, you don't often see a supervillain crime treated as a mystery, a crime to be solved. It's usually track them down and punch them up until you can arrest them, right?
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of a CSI style game, but you you're trying to pin down which supervillain it was, and then trying to figure out who the supervillain actually is.
It's like you walk into a place and you're like, I'm gonna find out who put these giant green question marks everywhere. Who could it be?
I have a feeling this is the Riddler.
I do actually like that idea, actually, of either one, you do that and it's someone who's framing the Riddler, or two, you have a couple of cases where it is difficult to solve, and then the third one, you walk in and there's just giant green question marks everywhere, and you're just like, all right, fucking go over to his house. We know where he lives.
But maybe this is like the origin stories. But I'm picturing that you could have many of the other characters in Batman's Rogues Gallery.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, that's the benefit.
Lesser known.
Yeah, that's the benefit of
Calendar Man and all those sort of ones.
Yeah,
like
Condiment Man. That's a real one.
Oh god.
They did it in Lego Batman. They had him in there.
You sure? I've just played through Batman 1, 2, and 3.
No, the movie.
Ah, really?
Okay. Condiment King.
Condiment King.
Okay. Yeah. Makes use of various condiments, sometimes capable of causing anaphylactic shock. It does say he's generally used as
superpower.
Comic relief.
Supervillain power.
Yeah.
I know that would really take it in a different direction.
No, I like that a lot, yeah.
I really think DC should do more with their properties, really. That and Marvel. Like, you've got all these properties, and you could do in the games, just come up with some weird idea that is so out there that
absolutely
people would love to
veer away from the standard. Yeah, the standard superhero
as much as I want to play,
stuff.
Marvel's The Avengers or whatever that's coming out later on.
It looks awesome, but fucking do something different with it.
Yeah, have like a side story set, within the universe. You play
the owner of the shawarma shop that the Avengers frequent. Come on.
Or,
and then you get recruited.
They've got the cleanup crew that they talked about in the start of Spider-Man and that sort of stuff.
No, that'd be cool for sure.
Having this cleanup crew go through and almost do like the Viscera cleanup duty sort of game, but
that'd be
in
cool.
The aftermath
actually,
of,
have they not done that? They should do a Viscera cleanup duty sort of game for a superhero universe.
Yeah, I know that they did one for
because I feel like there was a spin-off, wasn't
there?
Yeah, I actually played a reasonable few levels of the first one. They did a Shadow Warrior and a Santa Claus one.
Yeah, I've got Shadow Warrior. I used to have somewhere the normal Viscera cleanup duty, but I don't.
Oh, they do have a supervillain one. Viscera Cleanup Detail: The Vulcan Affair DLC, where players must clean up the secret island lair of a supervillain whose plans for world domination have just been foiled. That's cool.
Oh, I love that idea.
Got to try that out.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's been done. Awesome. All right, I think we need to move on because we've talked enough Batman. 3, 2, 1, click.
Ooh, studied sand.
Well, this kind of goes with that. Blemished seafaring. Are you some sort of ocean explorer with a perfect record that has just been blemished in some way? By finding
and so you become a pirate and you're studying all the beaches trying to find buried treasure.
Yes. Or you become a scientist and you're studying the sand and no, I don't know. Well, I was kind of thinking that
I kind of like the idea of a modern day pirate who sort of gets beaten on the high seas by, his crew or whatever, and then decides, well, I don't remember where we buried all that treasure. I'm going to become a scientist, study all the different and basically it's almost like a pirate sort of adventure game where you're now trying to scientifically deduce
where the buried treasure is, based on
where the buried treasure is, and solve some other
consistency of the sand.
Meanwhile, you're sort of trying to hide the fact that you used to be a pirate, so you can't keep on saying "arr" all the time.
I thought you said modern day. I'm not sure modern day pirates say "arr." Look, it depends on how much you want to lean into the piracy stuff. I quite like the idea actually of a pirate turned straight, like turned good in that way, like going straight. I think you do set it more in the classic kind of pirate.
We just said in modern times, but pirates never died out, so classic pirates still exist.
Okay.
They've just got technology now.
All right.
Pirates with iPhones.
They have to go up on the crow's nest to get a signal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I get one bar up here. Land ho! Signal ho! We're close to home, me millennial mateys.
And I love the idea that the only reason why the guy's up in the crow's nest is to get the signal, and he does the hotspot sharing so everyone else can use their iPads to
like, all right, check the Bureau of Meteorology and see where the storms are coming. You've got pirates with, like, they're missing a leg, but they've got those fancy, like, prosthetics, like the running prosthetics, though, like the bouncing, the flex ones. It's like genetically engineered parrots on their shoulders. Eye patches with screens on them. I don't know.
Yep. I'm picturing like these perfectly manicured or whatever perfectly shaped beards that are just perfectly groomed and all this sort of stuff. Oh yeah,
fucking hipster beards with like they're full on. They got all their product. You go into the captain's quarters and there's just like
beard oils.
Yeah, exactly. Beard combs and oils and. Also, I love that.
And this old school coffee machine, and he makes like a hot latte to go out on deck and tell all the people off, and all this sort of stuff.
I love the idea of them like dealing with the fact that there aren't really that many desert islands anymore. They've all got fucking resorts and stuff on them. So they're like trying to they bury their treasure, but they have to do it out of line of like the kids playing volleyball on the beach.
Yep. What I'm picturing is maybe there was a the reason why our protagonist, who is an ex-pirate captain or whatever, the reason why he sort of got kicked off of his ship or whatever is because he was in the South Pacific and he found a desert island and got his people to row ashore, but it turns out it was where the French were doing all the nuclear testing. And so
it's just completely radioactive.
All the crew members that went there to bury the treasure, they all got cancer or whatever, and basically everyone died because of radiation poisoning or something like that. And so they all mutinied against the captain, and the whole thing is, trying to...
They made him walk the plank, and by plank, I mean one of them planked, and he had to walk over them and go into them.
And they put it on YouTube.
They put it on fucking TikTok.
But I don't know, there's just something about, like, a modern-day pirate that is still the classic good old pirates, but they're just all hipsters and all this sort of stuff. That just...
Yeah, I love...
brings a smile to my heart.
There's a fuckload of good comedy you can pull out of that for sure. All right. But we'll leave that up to the game developers who eventually steal our idea and make it.
Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of fine cognac.
Yo-ho-ho and a White Claw.
Yo-ho-ho and a skinny flat latte.
Yo-ho-ho and a double whip frappuccino with extra caramel. 3 pumps. All right. I think we're going to move.
There's just something about that just... Oh, shit.
All right, I think we're going to move on to our final click picture. We do one at the start. We do one at the end. 3, 2, 1, enter. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
To cut this short, to make it very obvious, this is the Titanic, as in the cat Titanic. We have two relatively grumpy-looking cats. I mean, they're cats. Holding each other in the king of the world kind of pose. With
icebergs all around.
Icebergs all around with literally penguins on them. The rats are jumping off the ship.
Yep.
They're just in like a fucking tin, like,
dinghy.
Yeah. It's like a laundry.
Oh, it's not even really dinghy.
It's like a basket.
It's like an ice basket or whatever.
Yeah. And they've got a picnic. So, cats on the Titanic. I mean, the story kind of tells itself. So how do we turn this into a game? I guess that's where the challenge comes on this one.
Yeah. I don't want to go the obvious of we just make all the characters cats. And
no, I mean,
that's it.
Yeah, that's what this picture is obviously already doing. So let's not just do the game version of that. Let's say, how can we shift this around a bit?
Oh, I'm just wondering if they're going out for a bit of a sailing trip. They thought they'd, be a little bit funnier, and, call their vessel the Titanic. They've got these mice to have during their picnic and all this sort of stuff. But as what happens with the Titanic, where shit goes south, they sort of drift a lot further south than they were expecting, because they left from Tasmania and they kept on drifting south and south and south, and they reached Antarctica.
All right. Or,
yep.
Do we make this a game where you play the famous filmmaker James Cameron trying to make the movie of the Titanic?
Yep.
And everything goes wrong. So it's actually the story of the making of the movie with cats.
I do like that.
And then...
I'm just imagining having to deal with like these two diva cats who don't get along, but they're the romantic interest.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Kate Winslet. I mean, that's obvious. Leonardo DiCaprio. It fucking writes itself, man. Or Leonardo DiCaprio, like purring. DiCaprio. And then what sort of game is this? I mean, making a movie with cats is hard already because they just like in the middle of a shot will knock all the props off the table. If they're doing a sex scene, the purring ruins the sound. And there's obviously a famous sex scene in this movie. Yeah.
Oh God. I'm just picturing like, I know that this is, got a rather, two posh looking cats, but I'm picturing almost the Leo DiCaprio or whatever, is going to be, a more mangy tabby sort of cat. And,
oh yeah.
And you have like, the real royal, like,
she's like a Siamese
Cat
or something, right?
Yep.
I'm also amused by the fact that like cats hate water and
yep.
She's still not letting him on the fucking door.
You definitely have to be playing, James Cameron.
Yeah, I think so. Either that or
because
like one of his
I like
PAs.
the idea of having to set up a shot and have, these cactus really not want to.
Oh, that one was a stretch. Yeah, okay. No,
I was thinking, does it work as cactus or is it more act cats? And then that didn't work. So
Thesperians. I think,
and you got to try and stop this movie from becoming a catastrophe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think I like the idea that it's just a series of shots, and in each shot you've got a number of challenges that come from the fact that you're all cats.
Yep.
Cat Winslet keeps trying to like bat at the boom mic, so you have to like get her a fucking lapel mic instead. But then later on, there's nude scenes. How do you do that?
You got to deal with like food services and all that sort of stuff, and it's all just rats and other things that cats like, sources of milk.
Yeah, well, that's it. They're all divas. They've got all their fucking needs. Catnip. They're off doing catnip in their spare time and getting high.
Oh yeah. So I think it definitely starts out as they're on this smaller than the Titanic sort of ship, but they're actually on this ship, with a whole heap of other people, and they're trying to film this with everyone else on board. Yeah. And then, they're filming for so long because these cats are really not fulfilling their duty. They just
oh my god, to get
float too far south.
So I was just going to say, to get them to hit their mark, you have to use a laser pointer. It's like, no, over there.
While you're doing this as James Cameron,
okay,
you've also got to fight the urge to chase after the laser pointer yourself.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's like a little meter.
So it's that balancing act of not wanting to do that, not wanting to play with the wool ball and all those sort of things.
Yeah, look, it's hard being a cat in a cat's world.
Yeah, and the fact that you've only got X number of minutes to actually film each of these scenes, because that sunbeam does look mighty inviting.
It's like making its way towards you as the light goes. Oh, man. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. All right.
Same here.
I think we'll leave it there for this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online, you can go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. All of our episodes are there. Follow us and you'll get email notifications of our new episodes as they come out. Leave us a review. We would love to hear from you, hear what you thought, hear any ideas you had for any of the games we've come up with this week or in previous weeks or in future weeks, if you're listening to this in the future. We are also part of the 8-Bit Collective. This is a group of podcasts around pop culture and video games and other things. And look, there's a number of awesome podcasts in the network. Go and check out Comedy Rewind or The Hungry Gamers, or there's a ton of great ones. Go to 8bit.net. You'll find us on a few episodes of some of those podcasts. It's like a scavenger hunt. Find where we are.
Okay, and I'd also like it if you could jump onto Facebook and follow the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. There are a lot of awesome podcasters out there. We've gone to them a few times to get some guests for the podcast. No doubt we'll be doing that again one day. So follow the AGP and the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on both Facebook or AGP Network on Twitter. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuridas for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And Trevor?
Yes?
I want you to draw me like one of your French pussies.